birthed out here. It is free for teens. We're teaching videography, podcasting, public speaking, and drone piloting. How about that? And they are free for the teens. Free for the teens. So every Saturday from 9 to 12, 9 to 12, we have this cohort. Miss Elaine Price back there is we will call her our dean. Some of y'all know her from over in the Fraser area. She retired, and so she didn't have anything else to do. And so we said, put her back on the horse. How about that? And so you know her capabilities, and we have a great curriculum. We have engineers from Channel 3. We have 95.7. Michael Adrian Davis, 88.5, The Boys, and all that good stuff. But we have some, and they are still coming. And this is our first cohort, and we're excited about it. We have a podcast studio, we have equipment, and we are getting ready to expand to STEM lab with computers and all of that, Apple computers. So all of this is going on right now. So scan this card. Teens, pastors, if you have Dr. Leon over there, if you have some people running your cams and your audio and all that good stuff, and they're just doing it by sight or whatever, bring them on over. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. And y'all might have heard me give a holler for Miss Price, because Miss Price was actually my baby principal when they was in elementary school. So she did an excellent job. So thank you for sowing that seed from Fraser Elementary. But also just the fact of what Pastor is doing with this digital AI. Tomorrow, I'm bringing a resolution at the county commission and committee to ask the state, and we already got leaders at the state who's leading to sponsor this bill to make artificial intelligence a mandatory subject in school.
Yeah.
We have to know the game has changed. Reading, math, and arithmetic, that's needed. We need that to stay. But if we don't understand that we have an opportunity now with this new way, that if our children don't have this coming out, and this job that they can take right now, right out of high school with a certification, understanding the power of AI. I know Nicole, y'all just left a conference in Atlanta with Hope. And Hope is pushing this out to families all over the country to do this. But we saying if we don't start with our babies, we're going to miss an opportunity. The thing that's said as we left a conference a couple of months ago at DC, 85 million people will lose their job to artificial intelligence. But on the other side of that, 95 million people will gain jobs because of artificial intelligence. So we're not preparing our children for the 95 million opportunities that's there, because we're not taking advantage of what's the game and change, especially here in Memphis with XAI in our backyard. We have to be ready to prepare our children for the future. So I'm hoping my colleagues are going to be in support. I feel they are, to get this to our legislators and our lobbyists in Nashville, to get them to push this over the hump. But I feel good with State Representative Parkinson leadership, as well as he's bringing some Republicans on board to make this happen this year. So again, any other announcement before we get ready to move on to our speakers? All right, let's get ready and real quick, y'all. If we can make this quick and transition to getting us some food here, just go ahead. Let me bless the food. Father God, bless the food for the nourishment of our body. In Jesus' name, amen. Let's go ahead and get some food. Then we're going to come right back into our speakers.
My name is Alfred Garrett. I'm facilitating the principal portion of the 7 Ps, which deals with a lot of schools and educators, to see how we're going to be strengthening as partners with this community, along with working with teachers and everybody that's with the school system.
So what we want to do is, in each of these spaces, is talk about how do we collaborate in these different spaces.
majority of the people feel like if our kids could just read more, if they could learn how to read, would be better. But the issue is access.
At the school level, we have to have small groups of students who can meet with caring adults and be able to talk about what they're feeling.
You don't have any reinforcement with reaching the families and getting them the services they need, because guess what? They got ACE students.
It was based on 25 schools who had the highest incidence of violence. And so we implemented this program. This is year 2 for the program, and the results are favorable.
So if a kid gets in trouble, and I'm kind of interested to see what other funding that I could use in my school support I could get, because when a kid gets in trouble, let's say they're going to get expelled or suspended or whatever. If they're going to get expelled, we'll have the hearing. I can step up during or after the hearing and say, hey, look, instead of me giving this kid 180 days or 45 days, why not let them go through the SHAPE or SEED program?
I think that's really powerful. And at my school, we have 4 feeders. And so we get the benefit of Tresvant, Manassas, Raleigh, Egypt, and I'm missing somebody. We get the benefit of Craigmont, right? Of all those schools being able to be combined, but also having small, like gender-based groups where, because girls and boys have different kinds of issues and problems.
How can they read if they're in an environment where they're experiencing violence and different things that a lot of people look at it as, oh, well, like you said, well, when my mom, not my mom, but when my mom was 15, she had me, and she thinks I'm gonna be okay, but the actuality is you're not.
As you guys may not know, when it comes to funding, big grantors, they want to give money to a bigger whole versus I give you some, I give you some, I give you some. How could you guys collaborate so you can provide more services for more kids so that we can get the funding? Because you did state that funding was an issue to continue these programs. So that's kind of the reason for this concept today is let's find out who's doing what.
vital information with us. And I'm thankful to know of their great work in a great way. I'm gonna start with the judge. You ready? One I've been able to work directly with for my 3 years of being in the county commission up until this year when we kind of lost us to an elevation because of their own leadership as our attorney, county attorney, lawyer with the county commission for all of our resolutions and anything that I need, I still can call over there as she's serving her judge capacity to know where we need to be focused and make sure that we're on time with our resolution that we're bringing. Marcy has been that person in the gap. We were able to appoint her a couple of months ago to now judge of Division 2, right? General Session Court. She's there, and I wanted her to come today. She's going to share her heart about some of the things that she do in General Session Court, and she's also will be running for that office next May, August, when they have a race come up in August. So, Judge, come on up. Judge Marcy Ingram, get on here.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I wanted to talk to you all a little bit about General Sessions Court and what we do, the types of cases that we hear. The majority of the cases that we hear are eviction cases, debt collection cases, breach of contract cases, and even dog bite cases. So my jurisdiction is $25,000 and less, so it's kind of a small claims court of sorts. We have people that come in and represent themselves. My first week on the bench, I heard over 400 cases just that first week. So we hear hundreds of cases dealing with evictions, debt collection. One of the things that people are surprised to know is we also hear emergency mental health commitment cases. So if someone is picked up, whether they're at the hospital or they're on the street and they're taken to one of our mental health facilities, they call us on the weekend, late at night, and say, hey Judge, we have someone, we need you to sign an order or listen to this case. Because the law requires that. We can't just lock people up without having a judge hearing their rights. So one of the things I think that has been the most surprising for me is the number of eviction cases we have and the number of people that don't know their rights, whether they're the property owner or they're the tenant being evicted. The first thing I look at when people come into my courtroom is whether or not the parties were properly served. So I check to make sure service. I ask the other side, the plaintiff side, I want to see the lease because I want to make sure where the person was served that it matches their address. Some people are surprised when they come to court and hear that. It's like, I actually got to have my lease? Yes, this is a breach of contract case. So I want to see what the contract says because sometimes it has the wrong address on there. If it has the wrong address on there, that's not proper service. So that case will be continued or that case will be dropped. One of the other things I think people don't realize is sometimes you have the property owner or the landlord, they may say, this person owes us $6,000 in back rent. But we don't care about that. We just want to get the property back. We just want possession of the property. And you will be surprised at the number of people that say, the first thing we ask them is the initial stating is, the plaintiff side goes first. This is what they asked the court. They said, we want $6,000 for back rent and we want possession of the property. Then I asked the defendant, do you agree or disagree? The law allows me to give a 7-day continuance so that each side can prepare for trial if they want to go to trial. But sometimes the plaintiff side would say, all we want is possession of the property. We don't want to go to trial. And they'll waive that amount of money that the person owes. But because that person probably still needs a little time before they have to move, they'll say, well, I want to continue that case. And then they continue that case, they come to trial, the plaintiff side now can ask for the rest of that money and say, well, if you would have settled the case last week, we would have waived that money. But since you made us wait and go to trial, now we want our money back. So I'm surprised that I think people just don't know that they probably could ask the landlord and say, well, hey, give me a few extra days. I know the law says that you can evict me after 10 days after you get a judgment, but it's the end of the month. I need a couple more weeks. I need another paycheck. And you will be surprised, sometimes the property owners, the landlords, they're willing to work with people. So that's one of the things that I wish people knew. Also, debt collections is the next highest set of cases that we hear. And with debt collections, it's the same thing. They may say, this person owes us $5,000, but we just want the car back. Okay? So that's some of the things that I wish we can get out to the public for them to know their rights about what goes on in the courtroom, what their rights are, what happens once they come to court. I think people don't realize as well that if they do have a judgment entered against them, they can make payment arrangements with the side that won the verdict. And if they're not able to come to terms with payment arrangements, they can go down to room 106 and file a motion with the court and ask for what we call installment payments. And what the court looks at with that motion for installment payments is the person's income versus their debt. So we'll look at that and say, well, this person is asking the court to stop the garnishment and say this person can only afford to pay $150 a month. And we'll look at that. You'll have the other side that may say, well, Your Honor, they have $300 in extra disposable income, so we think they should pay this. And the court will weigh both sides of those cases. So that's some of the things that I want people to know. We can get the word out about just knowing your rights and what you can and cannot do in court. If you all would help me spread that, I appreciate that. And I'm here to take any questions, if anyone has any questions before I pass the mic on to our next speaker. Yes.
One question. Hearing you talking about room 106, what you saying? Thank you. Hearing you talk about room 106, what you saying they can go there and make negotiations and start going through wage earning?
No, General Sessions is located in 140 Adams, and room 106 is on the first floor. That's where you go to file your paperwork. So you can file your paperwork if you have a debt against you, a judgment entered against you, let's say for $15,000, and let's say you owe the car company $15,000 and they got the judgment against you, and you ask them, I can't afford to pay you $15,000 all at once. Can I send you $200 a month? And they're like, no, I think you should send me $400 a month. Well, if you all can agree to a term, you can file a motion, go to room 106 and get the paperwork to file a motion and ask the court, hey, we can't decide on the amount. Will you decide that amount for us on what I can pay, how much I can afford to pay that company back? And that stops, a lot of times people don't file that motion until after they have a garnishment. And I have someone in my courtroom a couple of weeks ago surprised she had several $1,000s taken out of her savings account. She didn't know that they could do that. But she could have, before that happened, she could have came to court and filed a motion and say, I owe them $20,000, but I can only afford to pay them $400 or $500 a month. And the court would look at their income versus their debt and decide what that person can afford to pay. And that payment would be made to the court. And then the court would pay the person that's owed the judgment.
And that's good information, because a lot of times people wait till it's too late. So saying like, we need to be proactive and get in there and get it done, and then we'll be all right.
Hello, what other languages are provided for services if somebody does not speak English? What other languages and what process is followed?
They file, they go down to room 106 again, that's the magical place, and they can ask for an interpreter. And we have Spanish interpreters, people with disabilities, they need someone with sign language. So it's just a matter of filing that motion, the judge will sign off on it, and we pay people to perform that service for us. So a lot of times we may have someone come to court and they don't know until they get there, and so then we'll say, I'm gonna sign the order and I'll reset your case so that we can have someone here to help us understand.
Thank you.
So I won't talk long because I know you have another speaker, but I think this is a great segue. She's a judge. I work for a law firm, so before you get to her, come see us. We tell people all the time, do not come to us at the last minute and do not stop paying your rent. If you stop paying your rent, there's nothing she can do to help you. We are free legal aid. Memphis is the bankruptcy capital of the United States. And y'all have landlords that don't keep a rental registry. Do not pay your rent with cash out. You see so much of it. So I thought that was a great segue to what the judge is saying. We are here to work with her and for you all. And so I just wanted to throw that in there for free. Thank you.
Yes, and I appreciate that because sometimes that's what I tell people. They think as the judge, we know the law, they think we can help them. It's like, that's not my job. My job is to be neutral. I can't give you advice or I can't give the other side advice. But what I'll tell them is go down to room 106. And they have the number for the people like Memphis Area Legal Service, the West Tennessee Legal Services, the Community Legal Services. And the court has an attorney for a day program where we do have attorneys that do pro bono work. So there are resources out there to help people with limited income. Again, that magic room number, room 106.
Let's get our judge in here. Thank you, Judge. Amazing judge. Before I bring up our next speaker, real quick, I want to give a couple of people in the audience. I know they're running for office here that's coming up, and I've been seeing y'all in parades and all over the town. You just announce who you are real quick.
I'm Jahara Dowdy. I'll be running for Criminal Court Division 1, 20 years of experience, and I'm using my courtroom voice.
All right.
My name is Mitzi Pollard. I'm currently a judge at Juvenile Court, and I will be running for Circuit Court Division 3, and that position will be on the ballot in August as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Leon.
My name is Carnica Love Anderson. I am for Membership County School District, District 3.
All right. And Brother Marvin back there, I know he'll have a preacher announcement for us. So appreciate you coming out as well. I want to recognize my good friend from the South. We gave him a passport to come over. Jason Saree, he's a leader in Whitehaven, for the Bell Whitehaven, doing some amazing work down there. Thank you, sir, for coming over to being with us today. He's taking some tips back to Whitehaven, so everything's looking like this in a couple of weeks. But as we get ready to bring up our next speaker, again, we all know her well. I don't have to have a long speech behind her and her leadership here. Someone that we're always able to call on, someone who gave us one of the best colonels in Colonel Vicky Shabazz here with us. I had to say that in front of Kirkwood, he's a former colonel. And Chief Davis, I asked, could as you come up, I asked could Chief Shabazz give Colonel some tips on how to be a colonel. But we've been blessed with some amazing colonels here in Austin P. As they're having our former Colonel Kirkwood, where y'all see a lot of this leadership. It came from him coming here, breathing and branding some of this and sowing that seed for us. And then now being blessed with Vicky Shabazz, who I can call at 2 in. She's going to get the job done for us. Thank you for your leadership. But let's give it up for our very own Chief Davis.
Thank you so much for having me, Commissioner. It's always good to come here because I know I'm going to eat good when I come over here. But it's nice to be here in Austin P. Austin P, there is just a rich history in this community and a passion that's almost unparalleled around the city. When you can't have a Christmas parade with everybody, you just gotta have your own Christmas parade, there's a whole lot of pride going on in this community, but it's okay. It's all right. That's what we need all over this city. I do want to recognize Colonel Shabazz. Colonel Shabazz came over to Austin P. We knew we had to have the right person over Austin P because everybody loved Colonel Ross. When Colonel Ross? When Colonel Ross coming back? Well, unfortunately, Colonel Ross is still on sabbatical, and I think he's going to be retiring soon. But we have a wonderful replacement for Colonel Ross and Shabazz, and we brought Kirkwood today so that he could cheer her on. And we actually brought Kurtwood back to work, y'all. When I see the good ones, I have to go out and get them and bring them back to work. And so Colonel Kurtwood retired, has come back. He's doing work with our clergy to build relationships and programs, utilizing houses of worship so that we can further educating in the community, being proactive in touching leaders in the community who are already grassroots doing the work. We can't do it by ourselves as a police department. Y'all know that, right? Anytime something go wrong, they say police department should do A, B, C, and D. Well, mamas and daddies need to do A, B, C, and D too. So we need all the community leaders, we need the mamas, the daddies, the uncles, we need everybody to work with us on how we keep Memphis safe. So I will say that this has been a challenging year for the city of Memphis for a myriad of reasons. The elephant in the room is that we have unintended and uninvited guests in our city, right? You ever had uninvited guests at your house? Try to be nice though, don't you? You gotta stop feeding them though, right? But, you know, we have tried to have the type of collaboration and work in a way where our citizens are not impacted as much as possible, if that makes sense. You know, sometimes you have control over things and sometimes you don't have control. And so as a police department, we're always trying to find that balance. We're always trying to figure out how do we make lemonade out of lemons. And not just in that scenario, but in all scenarios every day when we don't have enough officers. How many officers do you think we have on the Memphis Police Department?
1,800.
1,800?
Or not enough.
Oh, not enough, that's a good answer. How many are we authorized to have, you think? 2,500. You know, the last time the Memphis Police Department had 2,500 officers, 2011.
Wow.
Many years ago. And guess what? That's when crime was at its lowest in 2011. Over a 20-year period, it was at its lowest. But it wasn't just because of enforcement. It was because officers had an opportunity to do other things and engage in the community and be part of coax and work proactively and preventively, you know, on crime issues. When you only have, you know, 1,800 or 2,000, sometimes in a city like Memphis, you just running from one call to the next. You don't even have time to stop and say hello to people. So what we had to do was really make lemonade out of lemons and try to figure out how do we get crime down in the city of Memphis and not have the number of officers that we really need. We really started looking at making sure that the officers that we have are doing the work that they're supposed to do. Our department is just like any other corporation. How many of you are bosses on your job? It's a few bosses in the room. When you open the doors at your location and you got 2 people working and 3 not working, what kind of operation do you got going? Not a good one, right? So what we have to do is we have to make sure that everybody who is at work and on the rolls are doing the work that the Memphis Police Department needs them to do. And that's part of the accountability that's really important in our work. Making sure that our officers have the right oversight, the right supervision, and that they're doing what our citizens want them to do. I tell them on a regular basis, everything we have, everything we do, every paycheck that we get comes from the citizens that we serve. Our taxpayers, our cars, our uniforms, our training, everything comes from our taxpayers. So we have to be good stewards and make sure that we put our citizens first. So in the last several weeks, we have really tried to figure out how do we entertain the National Guard, how we incorporate 700 to 800 federal agents in our city. And it was sort of thrust on us in a way that we weren't really prepared for that because we weren't expecting it. But we had to stop and, you know, really just put the brakes on everything and come up with a plan. Do we let people who don't know about our city come into the city and not really understand neighborhoods and just enforce the law in various communities that will wreak havoc on the community. So what we decided to do, the mayor and I met with the governor and basically said it needs to be on our terms as much as possible. So we ended up pairing up our officers in certain communities with the work that they're already doing for our federal partners to piggyback on the work that we are already doing. Crime was already going down in Memphis over the last 24 months. Somebody challenged us and said, no, it wasn't. Then they came back and said, you're right, it was. But we knew it was anyway, because our calls for service were going down. We weren't having near as many shootings in the city, not near as many violent types of crimes in the city, and that impact was being felt. Well, we also ended up in this surge with a contingency of Tennessee Highway Patrol. Well, Tennessee Highway Patrol should have been in Memphis years ago. I've been here for almost 5 years now. When I first got here, we didn't have Tennessee Highway Patrol on our interstates. Interstates don't belong to the Memphis Police Department. They belong to the state, interstate. So the interstates belong to THP, and we should have had the same type of coverage as other cities do around the country with their state law enforcement. So what that was doing, it was pulling my officers out of the community from doing other work that they could be doing and putting them on the interstate to cover everything. So we're running from one place to the next, but when we started going to Nashville and asking the governor, when are you gonna send some state patrols to our city? We started getting appointments, gradually. In 2022, I think they sent me 10. We had 10 Tennessee Highway Patrols, which still wasn't enough, here in the city. And then in 2023, it went up to about 23, 24. Now we have 61 Tennessee Highway Patrols that are assigned to our city. The reason why that is important is if you have an environment where people feel like they can do anything they want to on your roadway, they're gonna scare you. They're gonna scare me, because I get scared on the road sometimes. If you're riding on our interstates, it can be quite intimidating. But things are calming down because we have that presence. And it's not so much the enforcement sometimes as it is the presence. When you see that yellow and black come, the little bumblebee cars, when you see that yellow and black SUV, you're gonna hit the brakes, right? Because they're coming out there. And really, the presence is supposed to be a deterrent. It's supposed to correct, the speeding. We were somebody mentioned the bankruptcy capital. We were also the traffic fatality capital of the country. We don't want to be at the top of the list of everything, right? So we really started working on how do we utilize the resources that we have to calm our traffic, to change the environment in our city. And yes, there's been a lot of traffic stops, a lot of folks going to buy their tag. Haven't you noticed that? It's good to have a tag. And it looks good on our roads not to see a piece of paper. How many of you got a piece of paper sticking on the back of your car? All right, don't tell me about it. But we started, and I think our tag office was working with people, helping people get registration. Most of the time, if you don't have registration, a lot of times people don't have insurance either, which adds another dilemma, when you have accidents and things in our city. So right now, we have probably 200, a little under 200 National Guard in the city. National Guard are not law enforcement. They're not trained to be municipal, city, urban kinds of law enforcement professionals. They're trained as soldiers to do work that soldiers typically do. How many of you prior military? And so prior military, if you prior military, here. Not used to working in urban areas unless it's an emergency of some type. So we haven't really tried to work with our National Guard just to put them in places because they're here, put them in places that just create a different level of visibility. That is working in some of the areas of the city, especially in our retail districts where we've had a lot of car break-ins or retail thefts. Retail thefts, car break-ins, auto thefts are down, down, down in the city. Last year, year before last, we averaged about 50 cars a day stolen. Can you imagine leaving out of a restaurant and your car was there and you thought, well, maybe I forgot where I parked it. No, your car is stolen. And so our car thefts are down 70%, and which is huge, especially during this operational period. We've had some days where there were 0 cars stolen, which is an anomaly, which is totally unusual, for our city. But it's also given our officers an opportunity to unwind and take a break from the grind. Working in Memphis is a grind. Every day, our officers are just running from one call to the next, one shooting to the next. And can you imagine what that does to the mindset? Even though they're resilient, they're humans too. Going from one ugly scene to the next, one domestic violence scene to the next, and carrying that, and then coming back next day and on the grind. And most of them don't work just 8 hours. Most of them, sometimes they work double shifts, sometimes they work 10 to 12 hours a day. So the surge itself and the federal task force has been sort of like an everyday sort of managing for me and my team. We speak to our task force members every morning. We have a call because I want to know what happened the day before. And when things aren't happening the way we want them to happen, we try to talk to them in a way that either you're going to do things my way or the highway. They can't do much without our Memphis police officers, right? You can't do much without MPD. So when you hear about all those wonderful, great numbers from the surge, I'm just put it out there. The elephant in the room is that's MPD. I'm just saying, y'all give us a round of applause. They're there, they're supporting. But those cases that are being made, those warrants that are being, picked up, those are MPD warrants. Those are warrants from homicides, from people who have been, at large for some of them for years. We've been able to pick up individuals and brought some relief to some of the families and some of the victims who have been waiting for closure because they've lost a loved one and that person has not been arrested. And so we have done well. We're up to about 32 suspects that have been picked up for homicide. Some of them were here in the Memphis area, and with the federal partners, some were in other states, and they were able to help us locate them, and we work with other jurisdictions to bring them here. So I'm not going to continue to talk. 7 deadly sins, what we call them, are part 1 crimes. Which one are the most serious crimes? I already talked about one, homicides. What's another serious crime in the city? Aggravated assault. Aggravated assault. Somebody said robbery. Robbery is one of them. Yeah, domestic violence is going to fall under aggravated assault most of the time too, though. Carjackings and car thefts are violent crimes. So part 1 crimes are down about close to 30% in the city right now, which is huge. Part 1 crimes are down about 30%. Here in Austin P is in double digits in reductions in everything. Some things are down even further down. Good leadership, good officers, good, partnerships. I think auto theft, Vicki, probably about 40% down in Austin P. About 40%. That's almost half the number of cars that was stolen last year are down. Half, this year. Yeah. That's impacting your community. Retail thefts are down too. So 7 deadly sins, we talked about robberies, auto thefts, sexual assaults, of course, are in that group. Aggravated assault. What's the difference between a regular assault and aggravated assault? Weapon. Yep, weapon. Anytime you hear somebody say aggravated assault, it could be a gun, it could be a knife, it could be some other type of serious weapon. that creates that aggravated assault kind of situation. But even our aggravated assaults are down. Most of the time, we're looking at weapons like guns. And, guns that are dangerous with extended magazines and all of the other, trick toys that they put on weapons now. But all of those types of crimes, not just here in Austin Peay, but citywide, are down. So I want to be able to give you all an opportunity to ask any questions while I'm here. And again, Uncle Charlie, I really appreciate you. You're always boots on the ground in the community and doing things that make a difference. So thank you. I don't hardly ever say no to you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Chief. I know we got quite a few questions here. If one, I just jump in and say, Chief, when we look at this, the big question is always, how do we sustain this when they leave? What strategies y'all see now?
So, and we didn't start talking about sustaining this just now. We talked about it in the very beginning. It's good to have help for 30 days or 60 days. But the kind of help that we're getting, we needed that kind of help, all along. We have been asking for federal help. So with the leadership, FBI, ATF, the U.S. Attorney's Office, we all met yesterday. We met in person yesterday so we could really talk about, how this operation is going and how do we sustain it. And instead of me saying, Governor Lee, I need X amount of Tennessee Highway Patrol, assigned to Memphis, the Tennessee Highway Patrol Colonel was in that meeting, and I told him, you and I need to be saying the same thing. If I say I need 100, you need to tell them you need 100 too. We need consensus. And so what we're doing is we're gonna put together a package to basically say the U.S. Attorney's Office needs 10 more attorneys. The Tennessee Highway Patrol needs another 50 assigned to Memphis. We need X amount of FBI agents, DEA agents, ATF is guns, DEA is drugs. FBI does everything, felony investigations. So we need those folks here in our city so we can keep things calm. Does anybody feel like things are getting a little calmer? Yeah. Feel a little calmer? Yeah, I feel it. If I feel it, y'all need to feel it. My phone not ringing off the hook like it's been, like it has been. My officers not running around like they have been. Thousands of calls fewer than what we've had in the past. But we want to do it in a way where it benefits our community the most. I saw a question over here. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I wanted to ask, thank you for your service and everything you've done. What have you seen in the Spanish-speaking community and how this situation has impacted them? I know in Raleigh we have a big pocket of residents or people that live here and other parts of the city. What have you seen in terms of the crime that affects them, gone down to, or not involved? Because I know they don't always reach out for help.
Absolutely. And that's on a normal day. Our Latino community sometimes does not reach out for help because of fear. There may be folks looking at, their documentation or if they're undocumented or whatever. So initially, when we first started, it goes back to what I'm saying. It started off a little rocky because we were perfectly clear that we didn't have violent crime problems in our Hispanic community. You may have, a crime here and there. It's not like that community was just immune to crime, but it was not like, crime was perpetuated on a regular basis in our communities. Our community members are workers and a part of, our community. So there was fear. Plus, when you look on social media and you see other cities and on the news and you see Hispanic community members being picked up by the hundreds, then it's enough for our community members to be fearful. We have met, myself, the mayor, we have met on numerous occasions with our Latino leaders, with our clergy, so that we can try to instill some sense of calm in our community and a little bit of control. And I spoke to someone earlier to basically let them know we can't drive federal resources, and we all know federal resources can do what they want to do, but I do believe that pushing back in the very beginning to basically say, if you're gonna play in Memphis, it needs to be on our terms. Has that been that we have had no administrative warrants or no immigration issues in the city? Absolutely not. We have had that. Is it like Chicago and some of the other cities? Absolutely not. But we're trying to make sure that our officers, number one, are not involved in there. Our policies indicate and dictate that they are not involved in immigration types of operations. Could we control sometimes when a federal person shows up on call? We had to put a stop to that because they were monitoring, our calls and showing up on our call. We had to say, wait a minute, you can't do that. You can't push my officer into something that my policy says that they're not supposed to do. And so that stopped too. So we've had to just be very methodical and keeping our finger on the pulse of that. Thank you.
Hold on, before we go to call. I just want to recognize Mireya as the new district connector for District 6. So y'all know Nicole Gates retired on that. And I have Mireya. So she is working, her office is across the street at the Youth and Family Resource Center. But Mireya, make sure that they have your contact before you leave. Y'all want to connect with her to stay connected to what's happening in District 6. Thank you. Carl.
Yeah.
Yes,
Chief
sir.
Davis, again, thank you for your service.